Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're jumping straight into a deep dive on a classic, incredibly dramatic folktale. We're talking family betrayal, totally toxic dynamics, and just how fragile human relationships can actually be. We are going to unpack a story that shows us exactly how dark things get when envy takes root in a household. I am super excited to walk you through this incredible narrative, step by step, and really dissect the anatomy of a betrayal.
So ask yourself this: how fast can a single lie destroy a family? Seriously, keep that in the back of your mind as we go through today's explainer. We all kind of think of trust as this solid, unshakable foundation, right? Especially when it comes to family. But what we're about to analyze is a terrifying case study in how incredibly fast that foundation can crumble when it's hit by calculated deception. And the emotional stakes for the characters involved here, they are absolutely life and death.
Okay, let's jump right into the thick of it. Go away from here. Our paths are separated forever. Ouch. Those are the devastating final words spoken by a husband, Rahamat, to his totally innocent wife, Kusum. It's the absolute shattering climax of our story, where a marriage is just wiped out. But to figure out how we reached this heartbreaking point, we really need to hit rewind and see exactly how things got so bad.
Now, before we meet our characters, it definitely helps to know where this story actually comes from. It belongs to the tradition of Thakur Mar Juli, that literally translates to grandmother's bag of tales, which is this beloved traditional Bengali genre. But hey, fun fact, these aren't just your standard simple bedtime stories. They actually function as intense moral fables that explore the sharp contrast between good and evil and the heavy burdens of familial duty. Knowing this cultural context is absolutely crucial because it explains the heightened, dramatic, and deeply moral tone of the narrative we're exploring today.
All right, so the central conflict here boils down to a stark contrast between two sisters-in-law. On one side, we've got Kusum, the younger wife. She genuinely just wants peace, harmony, and is super eager to share the gifts her husband brings home from the city. On the flip side, we have Saleha, the older sister-in-law, and wow, she is driven entirely by jealousy, a deep greed for the family property, and this absolute obsession with maintaining control over the household. It's your classic setup of pure intentions crashing headfirst into toxic motivations, and it is dripping with dramatic irony, mostly because Kusum has absolutely zero idea she's even being targeted.
And what's truly chilling here is the villain's actual blueprint. Saleha literally spells it out for us. If I can banish Kusum from this house, all of Ramat's wealth will come into my hands. I mean, there is zero ambiguity there. Her jealousy isn't just a fleeting emotion, it's a calculated business strategy. She looks at her innocent sister-in-law purely as an obstacle to wealth and power, an obstacle that needs to be permanently removed.
To pull this off, Saleha launches a seriously vicious campaign of lies. She doesn't just attack Kusum directly. No, she systematically poisons the mind of the family matriarch, their mother. First, she claims Kusum disrespected her. Then, she escalates wildly, accusing Kusum of having this secret, illicit affair with a local man named Anwar. Finally, she totally convinces the mother that Kusum is a traitor who is actively destroying the family's honor. By doing all of this, Saleha brilliantly and wickedly isolates her target, creating a completely hostile environment before the trap even springs.
So this escalates into a full-blown conspiracy. It's basically a three-step masterclass in deception. Step 1. Saleha literally pays off Anwar, the local man, to drop a fake love letter through Kusum's window. Step 2. She waits for her brother Rahamat to return from working in the city, making absolutely sure he is the one to find this letter. Step 3. The devastating final blow. She tricks the totally innocent Kusum into walking down to the dark pond at night, exactly when Rahamat goes looking for her, effectively framing her in the dark. It just goes to show exactly how easily trust can be weaponized against someone.
And you have to consider the terrifying speed of this whole timeline. We are not talking about a plan that took months. In the late afternoon, Rahamat returns home, exhausted but happy. By evening, the poison is planted when he finds the fake letter. That very same night, the pond trap is sprung, and Rahamat witnesses what he 100% believes is his wife's infidelity. By the crack of dawn, Kusum is banished. In less than 24 hours, a perfectly happy marriage is totally dismantled. It really highlights how quickly a mind can be turned when confronted with manufactured evidence.
Which brings us right back to Rahamat's reaction, and man, it is just sheer heartbreak. My long-standing trust has finally met its ultimate defeat. You have smeared ink on the face of my pure home. He flat out refuses to listen to Kusum's desperate pleas of innocence. In his mind, seeing is believing. He saw the letter, he saw the man running from the pond, and his faith just completely breaks. The really tragic success of Saleha's deception is that she used Rahamat's own eyes to betray him. And so, the innocent is banished. Kusum, stripped of her dignity and her home, leaves for her father's house at the crack of dawn. She is forced to absorb the catastrophic blame for a sin she absolutely, positively did not commit. It's a beautifully heartbreaking moment in the source material that basically marks the end of our second act. At this point, it feels like deceit has achieved a total, permanent victory.
But this brings up a profound question for us to ponder. Can shattered trust ever be repaired? I mean, Sayla got exactly what she wanted. Kusum is gone. But is the story really over? Because, as we're about to see, actions built on a foundation of lies have a very distinct way of collapsing under their own weight.
Almost immediately after Kusum leaves, the whole dynamic in the household shifts. This incredibly heavy silence falls over the house. Ramat is completely paralyzed by grief, looking like a stone statue. Sayla technically has the keys and the power, but her victory feels entirely empty. The house, which used to be full of life, now feels like a desolate graveyard. The narrative here makes it crystal clear. A lie this massive, this destructive, simply refuses to stay buried. The guilt is just way too heavy. And here is how the dam finally breaks. It's this rapid, super satisfying sequence of events. First, the younger sister, Shefali, is totally overwhelmed by guilt for her part in the hostility. She breaks down and confesses to Ramat that she actually saw Saleha conspiring with Anwar in the garden. Meanwhile, out in the village, Anwar doesn't escape like he planned. He gets caught at a nearby market by the village head, and out of sheer panic, he publicly confesses the entire paid plot. The perfect lie is completely shattered from both the inside and the outside, simultaneously.
Confronted with all this undeniable proof, Saleha just crumbles. She confesses, "I was completely blind with greed and jealousy. I didn't realize the consequences would be this terrible." And this brilliantly illustrates the self-destructive nature of toxic envy. She was so hyper-focused on destroying Kusum that she completely failed to anticipate the collateral damage to her brother, her family's reputation, and ultimately, her own soul.
Now, justice in these traditional fables is always swift and absolute. The tables are entirely turned. Razmet, completely horrified by what his own flesh and blood has done, instantly disowns Saleha. He declares that she must suffer the agonizing consequences of her sins completely alone. There is zero immediate forgiveness for her here. She's cast out into the social wilderness, fulfilling the classic moral arc where evil, no matter how cunning, is ultimately punished.
But what about the marriage, right? Rama rushes to Kusum. He is desperate. He begs for forgiveness and vows to protect her forever, finally recognizing his monumental failure. But Kusum's reaction is incredibly grounded. She does forgive him, she has a pure heart after all, but she hesitates. She explicitly warns him that while she will return, the scar of his betrayal, the fact that he doubted her so easily, well, that's permanent. The truth won, for sure, but the relationship is fundamentally altered.
This leads us to what is arguably the most powerful realization in the entire story. Kusum says, once human trust is shattered to pieces, putting it back together is the hardest job in the world. Wow. It's an incredibly poignant, heavy lesson. It really elevates this from a simple folktale about good and bad people and grounds it in a deeply relatable, mature human truth. You can absolutely glue the pieces back together, but those cracks, they will always be visible.
So let's summarize the core takeaways from this incredible source material. First, toxic jealousy acts as a rot that destroys families from the inside out. Second, deception, no matter how well planned, is super fragile. It literally only takes one guilty conscience, like Shefali's, to expose the whole thing. Third, the truth does ultimately prevail. And finally, the hardest lesson of all. Broken trust leaves lasting, permanent scars, even after the most sincere apology.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought to reflect on today. Is an apology ever truly enough to rebuild a foundation of trust once it's broken? Kusum and Ramat are definitely going to try, but their journey is a serious cautionary tale for all of us. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Take this question with you, apply it to how you view your own relationships, and I will see you in the